Hey guys, today we're going to learn how to change the starter in a 4-wheel drive 1995 Pathfinder or D21 truck. If any of you have tried to do it before or have done it before, you know that it can be a real pain in the butt because of the crossover tube and the 4-wheel drive mechanisms in there. Generally you'll figure it out within a little bit of time, and then some of you won't, and you'll pull the exhaust tubes off and do all kinds of funky stuff. I'm going to show you how to do it without doing that or removing the exhaust manifold. So let's go ahead and get to it. Okay guys, here's what you'll need to get the job done. You'll need a jack stand, 2 of them. You'll need some kind of jack. You'll need a couple of flashlights, maybe. It depends on what time of day it is. You'll need a rag that you don't care anything about, because when you pull the oil filter off, it dumps oil all over your starter. You'll need a regular rag. You'll need a way to get the oil filter off, a wrench or something. So you'll need a Phillips screwdriver. That's kind of an optional tool, and the reason is because you might want to remove the mud flap when you crawl under the car. It tends to dig into your ribs. So you'll need a 27mm deep socket to get the oil sending unit off. You'll need a 14mm socket, 10mm socket. You can use a 14mm deep socket if you want. You'll need 3-inch extension. You'll need a 3/8 to 1/2-inch drive adapter for the 27mm deep socket. You may need a swivel depending on how you do things. I use a 9-inch Wobble extension. I like those. It works really good for this application. You'll need a regular 3/8 drive ratchet. A Stubby ratchet is optional. I like them because it makes the job a little bit quicker and it gets in tight spaces. You'll either need a 13mm combination wrench, a 12mm, and a 10mm, or you can just do what I do, and I went out and bought me a set of DeWalt reversible ratchets. Reversible because they actually have a lever on them and they reverse. They're great, so if you get a bolt or a nut up against the frame, you don't have to cut your tool off. To initially break it free, I used a 1/2-inch drive and a 1/2-inch drive 9-inch extension Wobble, and I used a 1/2-inch to 3/8 drive adapter. Notice I said 1/2-inch to 3/8, and this one is 3/8 to 1/2-inch. They're just opposite. You might want some brake clean to get the oil off the starter after you pull the oil filter off, otherwise it gets real slippery. You'll need some anti-seize for the bolts to go on the exhaust manifold on the top for the shielding. And of course you'll need the part. I bought mine off of Amazon for like 62, 65 bucks, something in there. So that's what you'll need. Alright guys, this list will also be in the comments down below, the show more tab. Click on that, and I'll try to list some other pertinent information in there you might need too. So with that being said, let's get to it. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is disconnect the negative battery lead on your battery. Or if you're like me and you got a nice set of ratchet wrenches, you can go ahead and take them off. Alright, once you get the negative battery lead off, set it off to the side so that it won't pop back up and retouch the terminal. You don't want that because you're going to be dealing down there with 12 volts and whatever the amperage of your battery is. In my case, 675 cranking amps. I really don't want my wrench to get short out to the frame and get messed up and burn my hands. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we need to get these things out of the way because it just makes it easier. So you just pull this off, set it over here, take this other hose, pull it over here, and then you're going to take those two 10mm bolts out and you can lift this bracket out. So let's go get the tools and do that. Alright, for the tool I just used a 3/8 drive ratchet with a 9-inch extension and a 10mm nut on there. Or, I'm sorry, 10mm socket. So let's get these out of here. Word of caution, never put tools on your battery. I don't care what tools you have. You have 2 short tools, and one's touching this, and then one's touching this, and they go across the bridge. Your battery could blow up in your face, or it could melt your tool, or just really bad things happen. So never put your tools across your battery. Or you can put like little small bolts and stuff up here, but never put any large tools on your battery. It's a lesson I learned many years ago. I was lucky. The wrench started glowing red hot, and I had another wrench there, and I knocked it off the battery terminals, and it didn't blow up on me or toast my battery. All right, let's get on to it. So let's get these nuts off of there, and or those miniature bolts. We'll get those out of there, and then we'll get this bracket out. All right, you can just leave your extension on there and turn it like this. And if you didn't have a camera in your hand, you could go ahead and turn this and hold the bracket and then just screw them all together and pull it up all at once. I got those loose, and hey, look at this. I didn't need to hold it up because I can just go like that, and they just happen to fall in the holes. So let's go set this off to the side someplace. Don't lose those, by the way. You'll want those. All right, the next thing we need to do is you have to remove this shield right here in order for the starter to come out of here. So, and you'll have 1, 2, 3. Mine's broken in the back, so I'll just leave that one in. I should say the little bracket or the little shield part that goes under that broke, so I'll leave it in. Then you have one right here, one right there, and then one right here, for a total of 6 little bolts. So let's go ahead and get those out of there. And those are 10mm, by the way. All right, at this point you have two options. You can either use a stubby with a 10mm on it. You can use a wrench. You can use a large 3/8 drive. For the side ones on the bottom down here, these ones on the side, I like to go ahead and just use the 10mm ratchet combination wrench right here. These are great. So let's get on there and see if we can't get these out. All right, hold on. Now some of these can get real stubborn, and they can actually break off. If they break off, well, you're just gonna have to deal with it. So let me get all these off of here, and if you loosen them up, you can go ahead and sometimes you can take them out by hand. So let me get those out and then I'll show you. All right, here we go. You're gonna get them. All right, the first one's off, and I'm gonna do the back one next. What I didn't tell you is that this shield is a 2-part shield. And you guys are Nissan mechanics and have worked on these, you'll know that. So let's get this one up. All right, let's get the other one off. And that shield will probably just drop. Maybe. There we go. You just pull that out. Now notice the orientation, so when you go to put it back in, it'll only fit in one way, but just orientation for your education there. See if you can get it out from underneath the cruise control wire. All right, so let's get this over on the ground. Sorry about the racket. And let's go after these 3 on top. Now, like I said, the actual metal is, whoa, the actual metal here is broke across that. What I did is I put my sweaty arm across that while the positive battery terminal was still on. That's why I usually take the positive off. But anyways, yeah, it gave me a nice little tingle. So anyways, let's go ahead and get these out right here. I don't have to take that one out again because it's broke, so I'll just get these two. And for those, I like to go ahead and use a long 9-inch Wobble extension and a 10mm ratchet, or a 10mm socket with my little stubby 3/8 drive ratchet. So let's get to it. Okay, here we go. Now the reason I like the Wobble extension is because it gets around this valve cover fairly easily right there. And you can just loosen it up and get down here and get on this one right here and loosen it up, and then pull them out with your fingers if they're loose enough. Most of the time they're corroded in there really tight, but I do something special when I put bolts back in, exhaust manifolds and other things that make them easier to get out. And let me show you that trick. Here's my trick. It's called Anti-Seize by Permatex. Here's the item number down here. This is an old tube. It goes to show you how long they last. So if you're not an automobile mechanic, they sell like the little plastic packets at the counter at most of the auto parts store. You might want to grab a pack or two and put it in your toolbox or wherever you keep your tools and stuff. So I like this stuff. It works good. And you can see here's the other ones I just took out. Still a little bit left in there from when I had it out the other day. All right, so you just go ahead and pull this off. I'm going to pull this one off first up here. I might end up using the socket on that one. I think I'm going to. All right, let me get that off of there. Okay, that's loose. So now I got to stick my hand down there and get it. All right, trading hands here. Don't drop this in your frame, because if it gets down in the box frame on the bottom and goes onto the car, they're hard to get out without a magnet and being a contortionist. And this one doesn't want to drop off of here. Oh, and I disconnected my battery, positive battery terminal, because I didn't want my sweaty arms going across here again and giving me a tingle. It doesn't hurt a lot, but it's like putting your hand across an electric fence. It's not fun. So then let's pull this other one off. There we go. Now this bracket just comes off, or the shield just comes off. Okay, now you can see how it's made. If yours has a crack in here, you can drill a hole in it and it'll stop the crack, and then you can weld it up if you feel like it. If not, just it'll be there. Eventually I'll probably have to weld it because I got a crack here too. And if I don't, it'll probably snap off down this way, and then I won't have the shield anymore. So, and this one already broke off, and I don't know where the piece is, so I'm just not going to worry about it. All right, on the back side of these, two of them, or one of them in the back, it's got a nut on it, and the other two are there. These two screw into the exhaust manifold itself, and this one is just hanging out in the open. Anyways, let's get back to it. All right, the next thing we're going to do is you have to remove that oil filter down there, and you have to remove the oil pressure sensor unit. If you don't, you'll break that sensor. Trust me, I broke one, and it's not fun getting the parts out. So you have to pull that little rubber boot back, and then you're going to use a 27mm deep socket. Now here's one I bought from Harbor Freight, and you're going to need an adapter, a 1/2 inch to 3/8 drive a 3/8 drive to 1/2 inch adapter, and you just plug it in there, and then you can use your little short stubby ratchet, which I love. If you guys watch my videos, some of you people who do watch my videos, you'll notice that this little ratchet in a lot of my videos, and I talk about it all the time. For you newbies, if you're going to do automobile mechanics, you need one of these little short stubby ratchets. So let's go ahead and get that boot off down there and get that sensor out. All right, here we go. Let's get the boot off. It just slides down, and then you'll have to unclip it. Now mine, oh, doggone it, it broke. How about that? I guess I'll just have to fix that. Wow. Now actually, mine had a little tab on there that broke, a stock one, and I just screwed this on there, or not screwed it on, but crimped it on there. It was bad, so I'll put another one on. So let's go ahead and get the sensor out since I'm here. Okay, so now we're gonna make sure this is on off. Yep. All right. And you can't really see it. Well, here, let me get the camera down in there. See if you can see it. There it is down there. Now normally that little spike is shrouded, but like I said, I broke mine off so I could get the little crimper, or get that wire terminal in there. So let's go ahead and get this out. I'm sorry I can't show it to you because of the orientation, but I think you get the idea. Go. That's it. Now you just, oh, it wasn't on off, it was on. So you could just, sometimes these can be a real pain. There we go. Now it's loose like this, pull your wrench off, because if you don't, when it backs up into that frame down there, you won't be able to get either of them out, and you'll have to screw it back in. So now these tend to get in the way and they hurt your hand sometimes, so be careful. So we got this oil sensor. Here we go. Dun, dun, dun. That's what it looks like. Now a new one, like I said, will have plastic shrouds on it up here. So, but I had to break them off so I could put that little terminal on it. And unfortunately, I don't have a new one or a new terminal to go on this, so I just did that. All right, take your sensor, and I've transferred everything over to here. Next thing we got to do is we got to get that oil filter out of there. And boy, I'm telling you, those are fun. So the little socket wrenches that go on don't work very well. So what we ended up doing was using one of those expanding oil wrenches that has a 3/8 drive socket inside. So let me go get that, show it to you. All right, I can't find that tool I was talking about, but basically it looks just like this one, and off to the side with no handle on it, it's got a little spot for a 3/8 drive ratchet. Oh, here it is. Where was it?
It was in the toolbox.
Really? Wow, we looked at that toolbox, two of us, 3 times, and he just happened to see it. So that's it. So you have a couple of different styles. You have this style, you have this style, and you have the cup style, which is basically this. And I prefer these, but the Fram, they like to put that black tar on the outside to make it easy to grab. Well, if anybody has ever tried to take an oil filter off, whether it's got that black stuff on or not, it's not coming off very easily. So I prefer an oil filter that doesn't have that you can put one of these on. Then you can either use a wrench or you can use a ratchet on it. I prefer that style. So we may be able to use one of these. Last time we used this one. I'm going to go ahead and try this one just so I don't have to fiddle with the ratchet. But before you do that, you have to actually put a towel underneath that oil filter, something you don't care about because it's going to get oil on it, so that when you pull that oil filter off, like I said, it was a bad location, it's going to dump oil all over the starter and possibly on your driveway. So you need to put a rag underneath your car too, right underneath where the oil filter is. So let's get that done. Okay, there we go. I put a towel right underneath where the starter is, up there, right there, because that's where the oil is going to leak down. All right, grab that other wire and push it out of the way. There we go. And then you're going to have to get a towel and stick it underneath the oil filter on top of the starter. So let me get that in and I'll show it to you. All right, so once you get that wrench on there, you can push it off to the side and then grab it and push it like that. You might have to ratchet it a couple of times to get it to come off. Then before you pull that too far out, you've got to get that wrench back out of there to make it easier to get the oil filter out. All right, now you see I got that towel down underneath there. Now I can take this, and then when you do this, make sure you're pushing down on this end right here, so that when it comes off, all that oil in the filter won't dump all over the starter. You're gonna get some on there, you just can't get away from it. There you go. Now you can lift it up like that and pull it out straight up. If you don't, you'll dump oil all over everything. So let's go ahead and get this. And you're going to take this oil and you're going to dump some of it into a used oil container. And then you can take that used oil container off to the auto parts store, and they'll dispose of it for you. All right, after you get your oil filter out, go ahead and get an old used oil container. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it says transmission brake, it doesn't matter, just as long as it's empty. Put your little funnel in it. I already did it. Dump your oil in it. Then what you're going to do is you're going to get some tissue paper. You're going to cover it up, and you're going to set this thing down someplace where it won't fall over and dirt and crap won't get in it. This is my oil tub. This is where I put things, where I keep all my used oil. All that stuff is in here. Anything that I want to get rid of, then I take it down to the auto parts store. You know, I clean it up outside and stuff and make sure it's good. Anyways, enough rambling. You got that. All right. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull this towel out of here. I forgot about that. Let's get this towel out. Here we go. All right. Remember I said those little thingies down there get in the way? Those right there? Yeah. They're heck on your hands too. So next thing we got to do is we got to disconnect the starter right here, this positive battery lead. You take this and just push it down here out of the way. Back up in there. All right. I don't know what your starter is. Some of the originals, I think they're 13 millimeters. This is an aftermarket starter I put in here 5 years ago, something like that. And I believe it is a 12 millimeter. So let me go grab the wrench for that. All right, what we have to do, I had to put a light down here. So you got to pick up this little protective cap here and push it back like that so you can have access to that bolt right there, or that nut. So let me amplify or magnify it for you. See the plastic right there? I had to slide it back. We're going to be on that 12 millimeter bolt right there. There we go. Now I'm going to use my DeWalt ratcheting wrench, reversible ratchet wrench. Reversible meaning it's actually got a reversible lever. It's not reversible and, oh hey, you turn it over, it's reversible. No. Buy these kind. These kind though do break easy, and that's why pretty much they don't make them anymore. So unless it's really simple to get off like this, don't use them for actually breaking your nuts and bolts free. Use a regular one and then come and use this one because it ratchets like this. See how easy it is? And you're more than likely not going to get a socket on this with a ratchet. You can see that's it. I'm sorry. That's the only room you have right there between the frames. So you're not going to get a socket and a ratchet on it. It's a wrench only. And this little 12 millimeter wrench, or a ratchet wrench, sorry about that, I was watching the thing. Once you get it to here, and you can pull your wrench out. And get your fingers down there. Let's see if I can find a better angle here for you. Get your hand down in there. And take this off by hand if you can. It's going to be a booger. Oh, there it goes. And there's a lock washer on here too. So be careful not to drop those. Set that nut up on your battery. Set this up here. Pull this washer off. Might have to spin it. Like that, or just push it off and hope it drops on the ground. Oh, there we go. I pushed it off and then held onto it with my finger and slid it off like that. All right. Now you may think that, okay, so we'll go ahead and get the other one. Well, based on experience, you're not. What you have to do now is you actually have to take the starter out and tilt it up so you can get that upper connector off. See the shield right there? This shield right here prevents you from getting to it. So let's get under the car and get the two bolts out. There's the top one right there, and the bottom one's way down there. I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, in order to do this, you actually have to jack up the car now. So let's do that, and I'll show you how to get her done. All right, this is where you want to put your jack stands. Right here on the frame. Make sure it covers both sides of that frame. See, there's one side, another side, and then this cups both sides of it. Here's another view right here. See how that jack covers both sides of that frame there? And when you jack up, you have like a little hump right here. See this little hump? You want to be right here in this section. If you're too far that way, the car will tilt like this. If you're too far this way, it'll tilt like this. I found this is a good balance point right there. So that's where you want to put your jack stands. Okay, and I'm about 7 notches up on these Harbor Freights. You want to have your wheels about 3 inches off the ground, 2 to 3 inches off the ground, both sides. All right, and make sure you got your chocks in there. And I always leave my jacks in here. This is a secondary safety. I've actually seen jack stands break and fall. It's extremely rare, but it does happen. Happened to my dad. Thank goodness, thank good Lord, he had some blocks into the car as a backup safety, and it saved his life. So anyways, I always leave my jack in here. Never ever work on a car with this only. I've seen these fail too and drop. People, I've seen it all the time going down the road, tire shops, they got a whole car sitting up in the air on nothing more than this. The only thing holding this up is a little tiny 25-cent O-ring. I really don't want to trust my safety or my life or limbs to a 25-cent O-ring, so I always have double backups when I'm under a car, unless there's just no other way around it. Okay, so the starter's over here. We're going to go get to it. Enough of the safety lesson for now. If you want to make your life really easy crawling under this car, I just recommend you take this mud flap off. It's got two 10mm bolts on it and 4 little Phillips screws that hold it on, and then it pops right off. It's also a good time to go ahead and clean all the dirt that gets up in here and can corrode your fender. Take your 10mm and get that off, and get that one off. It's like it's already loose. Hold on. Alright, I got the other one out. Let's get this one out. Sorry for the focus. Let me try to focus. There you go. Alright, now all you gotta do is pull those 4 screws out right there. And there we go. Get these ones. Anyways, I think you get the idea. You don't need to keep watching that. Alright, once you get it off, it looks like that. You can clean some dirt off from up under here that normally gets up on your body, which you don't want. So let's get under the car and get the starter out now. Alright, gonna show you where those bolts are. Right here. Here's the exhaust tube. This is the crossover. There's the oil pan. And we're gonna go after that one there. And then we're gonna go after the one on top. Let me show you with my finger. If I can show you that one right there. That's the other one. And you'll come for that one up over the top over this, right down through here. So let me show you the get up arrangements of tools you need in order to get them. Alright, here we go. We got a 14mm socket on here. We have our wobble extension. If you don't know what it looks like that. A regular extension is just square. A wobble is like this. And what a wobble does is it doesn't necessarily replace a universal like this one, but it does give you some angle. And here's a 3-inch extension, 9 extension wobble with the 14mm, and a 3-inch drive ratchet. If you want to make it a little longer, or make it a little bit easier, you can go ahead and take the 3-inch off and put the other 6-inch off. So we got a 3-inch, a 6-inch, and a 9-inch. So I think I am going to go ahead and extend this with the 6-inch. So I'm going to use a 9 and a 6-inch. So let me get that. Alright, so here we are. And here's your sway bar. There's your lower control arm mount. And we're going to come up over the exhaust manifold next to the transmission pan. And we're going to come up here. Now, if you didn't have a wobble extension, you might have to use what's called a universal swivel or something like that. And this usually helps right here. And so you can see, hold on, let me get back. Here you go. So that's how I'm doing it. Like there. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's get this screw out, or this bolt. Okay, I got it broke free. Now you want to go ahead and trade your big long one for your short one. It makes it easier to get out. Sorry about that. And just do that. And once it gets easy, then you can take your ratchet off right here and just use your hand to get it out. There we go. So now we're just going to use our hand to back that the rest of the way out. we go. She's out. Now you can either let it hang there, or you can take it out and clean it. And I usually take them out and clean them. There we go. Alright, that one's out. Let's go do the top one. Same deal. You just come up through the top this time. I'll show you. Alright, to get the top one out, I use 14 millimeter. Use a 6-inch extension with the 9-inch wobble on it, and then the other 6-inch extension here. And you need this wobble right here because you have to actually go around the exhaust pipe. So let me stick that in there and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, now we're going to go up over the top of this bracket right here, and you're going to push your ratchet up inside this hole here, right here next to your transmission shift levers. So let's get over here, and then we're going to put it on that bolt up there. Let's see if we can find it. There it is. It's kind of a little pain in the butt to get to. You got to wiggle it around a little bit until you get on it. Oh, sorry for that. There we go. And eventually it'll get on like that, and then you can get it off. You got to break it free. All right, to break it free, you want to put that ratchet up there, like I said, down here. Here's your handle. You want to hold your palm against that and then push on this end right here towards the outside. Okay, it's already broke free, so and watch the dirt in the face. Okay, so let's get that bolt out. All right, once you get that bolt loose, go ahead and pull your extensions out. Sometimes the bolt will come with it like that, sometimes it won't. It doesn't matter, because even if it stays up in there, you'll be able to play with it later. All right, now what you got to do is you got to actually tilt the starter up, and the reason you have to tilt it up is because you have that wire on there and you can't get to it when the starter is laying flat because of that shield. So you grab the starter and you twist it a little bit so that the solenoid is hanging upwards and the starter is facing down about like that. And then you go up on top, and we'll show you how to get that wire disconnected. Alright, here's the problem right here. Is this connector. It's got a little tab right here that locks in, and it's underneath this shield down here. I can't really show the shield. Let me back it up a little bit. It's underneath that shield down there. And with the starter installed, you can't get to that shield. I mean, you can't get to the connector under that shield easily unless you know what you're doing. So I find it's easier just to go ahead and take the starter and leave that on, disconnect the starter, and then tilt it up, and then you can get a little tiny screwdriver in there sometimes if you can't get your own finger in there, and get it loose. See, well, let me get down here. I get like a little screwdriver in there, and I push on that. See the little round tabs right here? These little round tabs, that's the top of it. You got to get that screwdriver in there, push it down, and then pull it out. And it's a real pain in the butt. The first time I did this, I took the screws off the shield, which was a real pain in the butt. Then got it and then figured it out. So I don't know if I can do it on camera. I will try and see what happens. All right, here it is. I got a short, stubby, wide blade screwdriver and got it on the tab, and I pushed it up, and there it is. Came out. Now you're not going to be able to do that unless you can see it. See what I'm saying? When it's down there like that, there's no way you're going to see that unless you just happen to know where it's at. It's not right here. It's not here. It's up on top, up here. It's up here. So it's almost impossible to get to. So now that the starter's free, we can go ahead and pull it out. And let me show you how to get that out. All right, come into the car, grab your wire harness, and pull it up out here like this. Now, if you have a broken oil sensor unit, now's a good time to go ahead and put a terminal on that and then put it back on before you push that wiring harness back up through there. So if you don't, the wiring harness can get in the way of removing the starter. So let's go back up top. Now you're going to see why you needed the exhaust shield off, because it's got to come right by through here, and with that shield there it won't make it. Alright, so you let me put it back down in there to show you. When you get it like this, you bring this end up out like this, and you pull it up, then you wiggle it through and you rotate it. And it's a real pain in the butt, but you will get it out. There you go. So you got to rotate it 180 once you get this part up. And then you can bring it up like that. There you go. Hey guys, here's those screws I was talking about on the lines if your starter's a little fat. One's on the engine bay right there. The other is on the frame below the exhaust manifold. Here's a close-up of it. You'll have to get it from underneath the car. So here's a view of that from underneath the car. Notice it's in front of the exhaust manifold. And then the third one is behind the manifold next to that clip on the frame. So thanks for watching, guys. Go to the next video for the installation. I'll show you how to do the lines, etc. So God bless you all, and Keith Nunny out. Bye.